Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our final webinar in the 2020 VHHA Lunch and Learn webinar series. This webinar series will focus on quality, patient safety, and high reliability in healthcare facilities around Virginia. My name is Christy Burnett, and I'm the Director of Patient Safety and Quality in the VHHA Center for Healthcare Excellence. I'm your moderator for today's presentation. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items I want to share with you. This webinar is being recorded. All participants are muted. Feel free to type any questions or comments into the box. They will be addressed at the end of the presentation. A short feedback survey will launch at the completion of the webinar, and we'd love your feedback. And the slides are available in the handout section of your taskbar. And I'm just showing you a couple of pictures on the screen. The smaller picture you can open up by pushing that orange arrow, and then if you have any issues with your audio, you can connect via phone or computer through the audio tab. And now I would like to introduce our presenters today. They're from Virginia Hospital Center, and Debbie Deaton is a nurse that is a certified in professional development and is the coordinator for the nurse residency program. And Sensei is an RN that's certified in progressive care nursing and is the clinical educator of the cardiac telemetry unit and medical renal unit. Welcome, Debbie and Sen, and the floor is now yours.
Okay, well, thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity for Sen and I to share our project on patient escape rooms. So we are from Virginia Hospital Center, as Christy said. It is a magnet-designated hospital, 425-bed, for nonprofit. It is a teaching facility, and we are in Arlington, Virginia. We have a nurse residency program where we see about 140 new grads go through a year, and that's divided into 4 different cohorts of maybe 20 to 30 per each one. So the whole point of our presentation is to talk about how we got these residents engaged and what we did to make them get more engaged in patient safety. So what did we intend to accomplish? So then the next slide shows that. So one of the seminars is focused on patient safety. So every time we talk about, let's talk about patient safety, the new nurses, we get the look from Simon Cowell on the left. Oh, I already know this. They're grunting, they're groaning. Teach me something new and exciting. So that was our challenge. So we wanted to move them from Simon Cowell on the left to Simon Cowell on the right. So we wanted them to be excited and let them, like we know that millennials want to learn new and exciting things. So, you know, they often think that they already know this basic patient safety. So sometimes we know that they may know it, but it doesn't mean they know how to apply it. So before we got them moved from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, we were using the typical methods to educate them. We were using death by PowerPoint. We tried to break away from that and add more group discussions and case studies and video stories with lectures. But the post-seminar evaluations confirmed that we weren't getting very far. They were bored, and they felt the information was repetitive. They said, some of the comments said, it's a waste of time. I already learned this in body mechanics, in orientation. So we know that that's not true, but that was their perspective. So what do we do about that? Who are we trying to teach to? They're millennials. So the next slide shows that they are millennials and some of the things that are unique to them. But to better understand them, we did a little research and we wanted to know what were their preferred learning characteristics. So our new graduate nurses specifically are mostly millennials, and when we looked at our demographics, we confirmed that 91% of them were between the age of 18 and 36, which is what the latest millennial age group is defined as. So how do we engage them? So here's what we found. We found the 5 R's. So in 2009, Christy Price, a psychology professor in Dalton, Georgia, coined this 5 R's for engaging millennial students. first star is research-based. So she noticed that they prefer broad spectrum of learning strategies that cater to their visual, auditory, and kinesthetic needs. So Price also noted that their attention spans are actually shorter, so therefore it makes sense that they do better with fewer lectures and more collaboration with peers. She also stated that group-based projects that authentically emulate the work environment work best. So the next bullet point is relevance. She says that millennial learners value information for its relevance to their lives right now. So that's actually not unlike any adult learning principle, is that things have to be relevant for an adult to engage. Rationale, the third bullet, they need to recognize the socio-emotional rationale behind a process. So they really need to understand why this new information matters to them specifically. Another bullet point there is relaxed. Millennials prefer a relaxed learning environment, and they expect their teachers to be flexible and empathetic, and they want a no wrong answer environment where they can collaborate with the group to have a group answer versus a single answer. And then the last bullet point is rapport. So Price notes that this generation was raised by parents who devoted their complete attention to these kids. So it's really not any shock then that the millennials are used to adults showing interest in their lives, and they then expect their teachers to connect with them on a personal level as well. So, additional learning traits on the next slide. Some additional learning traits are they like a competitive format, they prefer activities to lectures, they expect to be engaged, and they prefer flexible workspace. So this actually allows them to use some of those skills in negotiation and group dynamics that they had developed when they were in school. So our objective.
So when we want to find a way to to enhance their learning, so we try to create something like fun learning environment, and also in that environment they can exercise critical thinking, and incorporate preferred learning style of the millennial nurses. So what we did is we look at the comment afterward after we exercising using the escape room. We got the comment after the escape room is a good collaboration of, and way to learn the skills, also fun for teamwork. And some comment would say very fun, interactive, insightful, a nice break from lectures, learn something new, do more seminar like this. A good review of patient safety skills, and to bond with each other when they do the escape room. So that's evidence-based. The next slide is about the escape room, and Debbie is going to talk about it.
Okay, so evidence-based escape rooms. What is an escape room, and why did we choose this format? So you may be asking, what is that? So simply put, it is a real-life adventure game with a theme. So you and your team get locked, air quotes, so you see me doing air quotes because you can't see me, in a room filled with puzzles and locked clues. And the goal is to collaborate with your team to find these clues, solve the clues, and then they eventually lead you to a final clue that lets you escape the room before the 1 hour timer runs out. So the literature we found supporting this particular format as an educational tool is that even though they were initially introduced as strictly recreational, they are gaining popularity in the world of education. So that really shouldn't surprise us because the escape room is kind of a variation of the gaming theory. And the gaming concept in education is well established as a valuable method to engage learners, to teach teamwork, to teach delegation, collaboration, and enhance professionalism. So we decided that this was a worthwhile format to use. It was going to be great for addressing all learning styles, from auditory to visual to kinesthetic, because you have to interact with the room to be able to get out. And also, some evidence behind this as a learning tool is the cognitive social theory. actually supports this format because you have to use critical thinking skills and collaborate as a group to work through the puzzles. And then finally, a note that gaming and simulation, this is a branch of simulation, actually motivates learners to be competitive and to draw on existing knowledge and think through problems, which is what we want our nurses to do, especially when it comes to patient safety. So let's look at the strategies. On the next slide, you'll see that we use several strategies. 4 weeks prior to the session where they would be having this patient safety escape room activity, we really talked it up. We rebriefed them about the concept of escape rooms. It was interesting, too. By show of hands, only about 1/3 of these residents, which, again, these are millennial nurses, confirmed that they had been to a recreational-themed escape room, but most everyone said that they were at least familiar with the concept. So we didn't have to educate them too much on that. Another strategy in planning this was the timing. So we focused on patient safety during their 3rd month of employment for a reason. Not that patient safety isn't always important, but this was a really critical time for new grads as they are finishing up their preceptor-led orientation, and now they're starting to care for patients independently. And sometimes they forget about those basic things when they're anxious and they're just task-driven. So we really wanted to find a way to help them incorporate that into their daily routine. So our very best strategy was to use the 5 R's that Ms. Price identified on the next slide. So the 5 R's to engage millennials, how we use them. The first, research-based methods. Well, we applied all these strategies, but we did our own experiential research and went to a real escape room to get a feel of how those clues unraveled. And it was not easy, and if it weren't for my teammates, I might still be handcuffed to a bench in that escape room. But it was fun, and it was challenging, and we had a great time, and it gave us a lot of insight as to how we can make this work for our residents. So naturally, we also researched the literature, and there wasn't much out there on healthcare education and using escape rooms, and there was even less literature on actually how to do it. So the relevance, well, the puzzles were all made the nurses focus on applying safe patient care, and they had to critically think through these scenarios. Their knowledge about patient safety was enhanced and validated by their peers and the educators that were the moderators. The relevance also is the puzzles themselves. They were very relevant to patient safety and their daily routine assignments. CODI prevention, patient ID, peer checking, medication safety, safe specimen labeling, blood transfusions, fall prevention, happy prevention. So there was clearly relevance to the population that they were taking care of. So the rationale, we used realistic scenarios, but more importantly, we did hold a debriefing session with each group immediately after they escaped. So this let them take a second look at the clues and understand the why behind the right answer. And the nurses were also asked to identify what safety tool that they had to use to come to solve this problem. And at Virginia Hospital Center, we have a poster of safety tools. It puts things in there like STAR, stop, think, act, respond, SBAR, ARC, have a questioning attitude, clarifying questions, that kind of stuff. So relaxed, yes, this was fun. It was relaxed. Nobody was judging them. There were no wrong answers. And it did appeal to all learning styles and supported group learning. And then as far as rapport, how we used that strategy, we had a dedicated monitor to oversee each group in the escape area, and their purpose was twofold. First, they needed to coach them and encourage them sometimes. Sometimes you could get totally stuck and they needed a hint to get going. So the moderators were there to do that. Also, they weren't supposed to talk too much. And then secondly, we found that moderators had to redirect some of those overzealous people that figured out a workaround to a clue and maybe got a little bit ahead of themselves. or forced a lock open that we had to kind of say, no, 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 not that yet, don't force anything. And then afterwards, that same moderator held the debriefing session with that group. So they were interacting one-to-one, and they were having that rapport with the group and their moderator. So there were some additional engagement strategies we used on the next slide. So we used a competitive format. We really talked it up. We cheered the teams on in the activity, like, yay, go, Team Blue Stripe. Oh, look out, Team Cactus is getting ahead of you there. So we really kind of, helped it be fun and competitive. We also had a timer clock, a countdown timer, while they were escaping. We have posted the time to beat from the prior cohort to make it a little bit competitive as well. And then we took their picture as soon as they escaped with the timer in the background, and so then they have that footprint of, yes, we might be the newest time to beat. It was interactive, so, of course you have to interact with the room and your teammates if you're going to make any progress. And the clues were hidden everywhere, sometimes under the tables, sometimes the next clue was written under a sign on a wall, or maybe it was taped to the bottom of a chair. Some of them were in plain sight as well, and we did make it a little more fun with some dead-end clues, like when you opened a container, it would say, oops, not a clue, but you've exposed your team to MRSA, and now you must wear this isolation gown. Or, oops, you are now a fall risk and have to wear this yellow sock, but keep looking. And my favorite one was, you have to take this medication, and we would tape a packet of jelly beans or Skittles or something, and say, since opening this folder has exposed your team to C. diff spores. So we did make it kind of fun as well. So the next slide will tell you a little bit more about how we did it. So first of all, it wasn't realistic for us to create a single recreational quality escape room. Space is a rare commodity at our facility, and the cohort sizes of 20 to 30, we needed to find some way that would accommodate more than 6 people at a time. So we modified that concept into an escape area, and we created 4 escape areas in one large room with 8 tables and 8 chairs. We used plastic tape, kind of like crime scene tape, and tied it to the chairs to create the room boundaries. And then the very final clue contained scissors with directions that said, you are now free and you can cut the tape to leave the escape area. So circling back to this slide, how we did it, on a budget. It was really important that we did it on a budget because we basically have no budget, right? So everything we came up with is low-tech and reusable. For example, Cindy, you want to tell them how we did the cereal boxes? There's a picture of the cereal box there.
So we have one of the co-workers have a very creative, and then use this cereal box, and then we copy the picture of the palm and put it on the cereal box, and then it would kind of look like a IV palm. So that's what we use for the IV the infusion for the blood transfusion. And that's one of the puzzles about blood transfusion, and we do need a IV pump. So that's why we decided to have this what we call that is what?
Recycle.
Yes, reusable IV pump.
Right.
Okay, and then also we have this lock. It's 3-digit number lock, and I got it from Amazon, and it wasn't pricey, so it was pretty reasonable. So we had those to use that. And then so what happened is we're going to always think about how we can modify it for a situation. So for COVID we have now, and we cannot get them too close together. So we think out, okay, let's have them have a PPE. However, with the PPE is so precious right now because of all these COVID patients, we need to have PPE for taking care of them. So we are lucky we had those reusable isolation gun, so that can be used because it is reusable. But other things like we will like use the disposable gloves, those is from the like food surface, and that is not that expensive. And also we use the disposable shower head to protect the hair area. And also we order some face shield from Amazon. It's a reasonable price also that can be reusable. So that's how we adapt to the changes. The size of the room also, like Debbie said, is really depends on the what room is available to us, and we will try to be flexible with that. Okay. All right. So for
sequence of the clues was important too.
Yeah. So anyway, we look at the how we look at a sequence of clue, and so we will first of all we want to decide what kind of clue we need to.
So some clues on the next slide.
Yeah, some clue for next slide. So okay, so, sorry. Okay, so you have we have puzzle say things I think we want to top left is on the top left moving to the right. Okay, so first one we have blood transfusion. Is a pilot crew review the code to unlock this IV pump, and the starting time was on the back is there was a clock nearby indicate 4 hours was up. Once they recognize that they have to stop the blood and they need to open the Velcro thread, and there is a clue inside the thread, and we unlock the next box. And that is what we have is according to blood transfusion policy administration. 4 hours is the maximum time we can do blood transfusion. And next clue is about you see in the picture is about the blood sample specimen collection. So it's also we want them to be able to label those blood specimen sample correctly. So we want them to pay attention to details about the proper labeling. So what happened is only one tube that are correctly labeled are used to make the code for the next clue. So that's come up with 149. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's the kind of go on. I think I don't want to keep going talking about the puzzle, so I'll let Debbie talk about the result we had from the escape room.
Okay, so the results on the next slide. This bar graph shows you how those satisfaction scores rose after introducing the escape room. So we were using the satisfaction score of 1 to 4. This shows 6 different cohorts. So 1 was poor, which is purple. Score of 2 is fair, which is green. 3 was good, which is red. And 4 is excellent, which was blue. So we finally got the hang of things, as you can see, by cohort 6 and 7. We introduced it at cohort 5, and we had kind of a learning curve there, but they still were generally okay, but we weren't going to give up, and we tweaked it until we got to cohort 7, where we had 100% scoring as excellent. Even though we tested the room before cohort 5, we missed a few points, and we learned a few things. So what made it work? The next slide. It is portable. It is low tech. It is reusable. It's competitive. It encourages team building. It was consistent. We made notebooks for our moderators to use so that they were consistent with the clue by clue progression. The competitive and fun is, our CNO actually started to post the winning team photo in her Monday message bulletin that she puts out to all nurses. So that makes it fun too. And the clues, again, whenever they reviewed the clues within the notebook, the residents had to share with their moderator any patient care experiences that they had related to patient safety. So what we learned on the next slide, size matters. Yes, it does. The size of the group, if it's too big, they split off and they don't work as a team. The duration of the activity matters. And you can see in the picture, this is where they got to the back of the clue where the answer is without taking the Foley out. So this is why you need a moderator, because sometimes people get ahead of themselves. We allowed 60 minutes for the first one, which was too long, so we cut it down to 45. The clue sequence, we realized that the moderators had to watch people a little more closely so that they don't breach the clue sequence. We also realized that we had to make more diversity that would include other service lines in the storyline where you have to use a safety behavior, like NICU, OR, labor delivery. And then adapting to COVID, Sin is an absolute mastermind. This next picture is worth 1,000 words. You can see the final slide that pre-COVID, we didn't have to worry about that, and look how excited they are. And the girl on the left, you know, she's got her isolation gown on, and yay, we did it. On the right, we finally figured out how to make them just as excited and be able to work together, because Sin had the idea of incorporating donning and doffing PPE as part of the activity. And their moderators have a chance to observe and intervene and talk about that as a safety procedure. So that's kind of it in the nutshell. We'll be happy to answer any questions. So I guess that's back to you, Christy.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. That was super. Love it. That was a really, really innovative way to engage staff and think about patient safety. So perfect presentation and idea. I would ask anyone that has questions to make sure you enter those into the question box in your webinar platform. Also, keep in mind, if you're not an educator at your own facility, this is recorded. So feel free to pass that recording along to your colleagues if you think this is something that would work nicely in your own facility. Again, great job, Debbie and Sin. As a reminder, this is our final webinar for the year, so be on the lookout for upcoming announcements regarding plans for 2021. There are a couple comments. I'll read them out to you. Someone entered a comment about they love the Simon Cowell analogy in the beginning. And there's an awesome comment. Thank you for sharing. Another comment that says, what a great way to get staff involved. Any chance you can share your information with all of us. Now, those slides are attached, and in the handout section, there is an email contact on the third slide for both Debbie and Sin. So if you can download those slides, that's a great way to reach out to them. And then another comment that says, great presentation. So I loved it. I think you gave good examples of how to create those puzzles, great team building skills. I think that this could segue into other areas outside of patient safety. I mean, you could essentially use this escape room for all kinds of educational things, for whether it be nurse residency or not. And I'm not a millennial, but this would certainly appeal to me in my learning style. So I think it's a great way. Another comment came in that says, excellent idea for educating. So seems like it's well received by everyone. If there's no other comments or questions coming in, I'm going to go ahead and conclude today's webinar. I want to thank everyone for joining. Please stay safe and healthy. Remember, there's a brief feedback survey that will launch at the completion. And we will conclude today's webinar. And again, thank you, Sin and Debbie, for presenting today. Take care.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.